Race 11, London Rowing Club against Agecroft from up in Salford in Manchester.
Attention!
Very powerful rowing club. Agecroft produced many international rowers in their time on the water at Salford Quays. Big pressure moment for the 8 on the water right now. Just straying out into the middle of the course a little bit, Agecroft, on the Buck Station. On the Bark Station, London Rowing Club struggling to keep with them in the early stages. Change in the commentary box. Greg Searle has gone to grab some air. Martin Unsworth has joined me. Martin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Well, we couldn't have better conditions than this.
It's a bit warm for a big lad, put it that way.
Yes, and there's some big lads out on the water right now in these 8s. London on the Berkshire Station, Agecroft on the Buck Station. And it's Agecroft who have now got a length advantage early on in this race in the Thames Cup. Thames Challenge Cup, a club event for men's 8s. 32 crews entered into the Thames Challenge Cup. Already seen a couple of the heats so far. This is the 3rd heat in the Thames competition.
And if you looked at qualifiers, as they call it, the qualifying races on Friday night, there was a huge entry to try and get into these, the final days of Henley Royal Regatta. And you see here Agecroft going towards the top of the car parking area. Some brilliant images here. That's been just so impressive. And there's Agecroft moving away now from London. It must be just over a length, I'd say.
This is where they can put the work in, forge a lead. A couple of gulls flap around the boats. Won't be distracting these 8s though. The cocks you can hear from this race. You can hear the instructions being shouted by Hiroshian and Freya Watkins-Hoyle. Freya Watkins-Hoyle, the cocks at Agecroft.
And it's just about at the half mile that sometimes you get some gusts of wind coming across. These 8s obviously block an awful lot of wind, and it can shift them. So the cocks has got to be absolutely on their mettle all the time. You can see some of the ripples there on the images. There's a London cock. She's encouraging her boys just to dig a bit deep. They're still in touch here.
They are. Interesting stage of the race, as you say. The conditions just a little bit more tricky, and London have not given this one up at all. Agecroft will be able to see London at this stage, and they'll think, well, we need to get a bit more of a margin here, because with a substantial amount of the race still remaining, they're not much more than a length down.
They're not, and the Thames Cup does produce some fantastic races, as long as these 8s can stay in touch. When it gets towards the end and the sprint, if somebody's got a sprint finish, they can gain. Remember, this is just a little bit more than 2 kilometres, and a lot of these lads, all of these, are used to racing 2,000 metres, multi-lane, or some of the races on regattas on the river. But this is more than 2 kilometres, and we've seen sometimes in the finish that somebody just runs out of legs for that last little bit.
Yes, if you haven't paced yourself right, the last 112 metres beyond.
We worked out the other night that's about 12 stroke.
Yes, that would be between 10 and 15, definitely. I think, yeah, 12 strokes if you're efficient, if you're going well. Maybe 15 if you're struggling a bit.
If you look here at the 2 boats, you can say one just looks a bit tidier, and you don't have to be a rowing expert to see which crew just looks. There's a Will Satch, look like that. There's a tidy stroke going through the water. London maybe just looking a little bit more untidy, as we see a good shot here of both 8s coming towards us.
Yeah, just a touch ragged, London, but as you say, if they've got a sprint finish in them, this would be the time to hit the button, wouldn't it? They've got enough of the race left to turn this around, but Agecroft will be thinking, well, if we look at Agecroft have had a good couple of 100 metres there, and they've just surged ahead a little bit more, just to put some breathing space between them and London. So that was a good stretch of the race for Agecroft.
Yeah, they're going through Remnham Club now, and this is where it really does begin to hurt. You'd fancy London need to be a bit closer to have any sort of chance of a finish here. Looking at the differences in the two crews, Agecroft staying nice and straight and flat and smooth. These guys in London there, the boat tends to skew round a bit, so some of the right-handed lads are a bit stronger. The other lads may be getting a bit weaker, and the boat starts to skew, and of course all of that is wasted energy.
We had a good biomechanical analysis of that a few moments ago from Greg Searle.
Mr. Searle, he would know about that.
He certainly did. So, Agecroft and the red vests there, looking fairly relaxed, despite being into the final couple of 100 metres of this race on a hot day here.
Well, they'd have a race plan, Tim. You know, they'd have a plan where they would have their certain calls and certain pushes. But you've got to say it's a long regatta, this. If they have any chance of a sniff of the finals, you know, it is a marathon. They've just got to try and conserve a bit of energy, whereas not to let these London guys get back at them, but to stay far enough in front without using too much of the energy. So I'd say there that Agecroft looking fairly comfortable as they're coming up now towards the public grandstand at the edge of Stewart's enclosure.
Agecroft knocked out in the first round of the Thames and the Whitefold Challenge Cups at last year's Henley Royal Regatta. But it looks like they'll be more successful 12 months down the line against London in the Thames here.
Well, we got to look forward to some really good clashes a little later on today. Leander up against City of Oxford, Upper Thames up against Reading. You know all about Reading.
I do. Yes, another local crew, another local boat, and they will have been here many times to rehearse what's a big day in their calendar for sure. So the margin, Agecroft now with length to spare, clear water between them and London Rowing Club as they enter the final 100 metres of the race, past the Stewart's enclosure, and watch out for the tree. There it is, and in a moment now the bleep, which indicates the finish of that race, and a good victory for Agecroft, as I say, knocked out in the first round last year in Thames, but this year very successful against London Rowing Club B. Early exit for them, but Agecroft can progress.